This is a light language transmission. I've started to upgrade an old painting from April 2009. It's called Twin Spirits. They're connected to a watery world way beyond this galaxy. The energies of that they're one, they're unified, they are one being in two vessels, and they're just pure divine love. And unity and oneness, as you can see with the hands held there and the gaze towards each other, their hair entwined. She's got pearls of wisdom and spiral. He's got starfish and turtle. She's got a crystal in her hand. I had light language starting to come through and my whole body's shaking as I upgrade this one, and I feel like crying. I have so much. It's tears of joy and relief. Relief at the unification being brought back up into consciousness. I have a sense this is coming in for the Aries new moon. Asataka toko so toko potaka taka chiko ko to soko topoko. Asasakata potaka choko so toko potaka toko choko so potaka kataka ka. Asasakata saka toko ko so toko potaka so choko poto soko toko potaka kataka 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 ko so toko to. Asakata ka so toko ko toko potaka choko so toko taka tiki potoko ko. Ikiti kataka toko to soko toko toko. Isiti tiki kataka toko so toko potaka so toko patita kaka ko isi tiki kata toko toko so toko pataka taka sataka toko isi tiki kata so toko kata akata ko akata toko akata ko isakata toko. Okay, I'm seeing a DNA spiral between them anchoring. And the third energy, and especially that divine masculine embodiment. I feel like the divine feminine has been more present here in this level of consciousness, but the divine masculine has still been kind of not quite embodied, not quite accessing the truth of who he is on the other dimensions. I'm feeling that turtle in his hand. The turtle is like rebirth, because the turtle comes out of the water, so it comes out of its natural habitat, comes onto the land to lay its eggs. So that's the first birthing is coming out of the water. The second birthing is coming out of the turtle and the eggs going into a hole in the earth, in the sand. And then the eggs crack open and the little baby turtles come out. That's the third birthing. And then they crawl up to the surface of the earth and they birth out of the sand. They literally crawl out of the sand. So that's the fourth birthing. And then they emerge back into the ocean. They have a long run for it back into the ocean. So it's interesting that he's holding the turtle, the baby turtle, as it's come back into the ocean. The home where it's much safer. And she is holding the seahorse, and it's the male seahorse. She's holding that on her thymus, her soul seat. That's where we hold our desire to fulfill our life's purpose. And I felt that really, really activated this week, extremely activated, but activated in the third energy of the unity of the divine masculine, divine feminine. And so she's got this seahorse there, and what's significant about the seahorse is that it's the male that tends to the babies. I think the male even births the babies and tends to them. And at his crown is the starfish, and I feel that connected to the home realms, the watery home realms. Now I am connecting to her crystal in her hand. And so that's connection to home realms in her hand, to her guidance, to the earth as well. And they're balancing that up. He's holding the connection to the oceans via the turtle, and she's holding the connections to the earth with her crystal, and they're holding hands in the middle, forming a unity, a complete balance. And the Libra new moon this weekend, as I'm bringing these codes in, is all about balance as well. It's balance between masculine and feminine, yin yang, night, dark. And we've just had the equinox. We're still kind of just very close to the equinox, which is equal day and night. Change of seasons. Okay, I'm going to do some work on the painting and then continue the light language for the next image. This is a little update midway. The energies of the sacred marriage coming into the initial twin spirits painting from 2009. So their faces are starting to change and fill out, become more three-dimensional, more embodied, more human, more warm-blooded. And her hair has grown much longer. It's taking up more room in the painting. So you can see some of her hair is underwater. A lot of her hair is underwater. Some is on the surface. Their mouths have disappeared, and this is because communication is starting to that they have this telepathic communication, as symbolized there by the cochlea of the ear, right in the empathic center there. So there's an unspoken communication between them, as you can see also through their eyes. Their eyes are very activated, but so they haven't needed their mouths. But the next thing that's happening is, so the focus has gone to the hands. You can see that's just kind of, I haven't put the detail into the hands yet, but the energy has come in of the hands. You can see it's almost like an infinity loop, the hands. They're really entwined together, their arms and their hands. It's almost like a DNA spiral, and I felt the DNA spiral moving down through them. As the energy lands more and more into this reality, I will get more detail in the hands. But so huge energy has come in already with this, and I've had to stop and integrate it before I could carry on with any more of the painting. But you can see his hand is really supporting her hand. Her hand is like an antenna from heaven down to earth, bringing in the higher consciousness and directing it down into the earth. And his hand is scooping hers up, claiming her, holding her, supporting her solidly on this earth. And as that's happened, I felt their hearts activate simultaneously. So their heart chakra is super huge and activated with higher divine unity consciousness and Christhood consciousness, the unified elevated heart, and they're connected together into this reality through their hands. You can see they're looking at each other there, but they're facing forward. So they're forward, heading forward in their mission as a unit, but consciously aware of each other through their eyes at the same time, communicating as one through their eyes, almost like the left hand talking to the right hand. They're also maturing. So there's this real sense of she has brought her presence into the physical much earlier than he has. So the divine feminine feels more mature. I don't feel like I need to do an awful lot of work on her body. I do need to make her hands bigger and more powerful, as in the effect that she's having in this world. But her hair, the length of her hair, which has grown, has shown just, your hair growth shows how long you've been on the earth if you haven't cut it. It just keeps growing with time, right? So her hair is showing how much experience she's gained here on the earthly planes in the physical reality. And this is through multiple lifetimes. Each time she's spent time in this plane doing her work and learning how it works here. She's been gaining wisdom, and that's reflected in her hair. They're actually floating on the water, so this is why I've got these bits of water over there to show that they're floating. Parts of them are underwater and parts of them are on the water, but you can see they also appear to be standing up from our perspective. So they are floating in their watery beingness from their star origins and their soul origins, but they're also in a standing position from our perspective, or even a kneeling position of unity and action in unity, whilst in complete presence with each other and with the audience, with us. So I'll just bring a little bit of light language through to help anchor that. And then I will, he's going to also fill out, he's very juvenile there, he's very adolescent. And I have felt a sense of that coming from the masculine aspects, some of their wounded aspects, kind of stunted maturity. So in some respects, obviously they're advanced souls, but they're working through the mundane as part of their soul mission. So he's going to fill out his shoulders. I can already feel his shoulders straightening up. So he seems quite awkward there in that stance. Their mouths, as I said, haven't developed, but the next step also is the mouths to develop, and that comes after the heart activation, and the heart activation's just happened. So their mouths will develop, their faces will still change. Just referencing the hands again, them forming the DNA spiral. On the previous image before I started upgrading it, the hands were almost clasping at each other at 3D, in attachment, in fear of losing each other. It's like the repetition of past life traumas of being separated, and so there's been that push-pull, the runner-chaser dynamic, as you come together and pull apart, come together, pull apart, as all of your wounds and traumas of abandonment and separation get activated, and you push each other away, and then that has now come into a presence of being able to be in the heart. I felt this week the masculine really embodying, like his body being willing to accept his higher essence, his higher purpose, his sensitivity, and as that's happened and he's unified, so the third energies come in, the unification, there has been really activated upper chakras from the heart upwards, really activated heart. And what I felt him wanting to communicate, but wanting to make contact, wanting to talk about things, however unable to do so because he's coming from the mind perspective, and everything he thinks of ways to communicate or what he would say being pulling back and going, no, that's not right, that's not going to work. That's not, because it's coming from the mind. And then at some point there was this deepening and realizing that it's got to come from authenticity, and somehow finding his way into his heart and dropping into his heart. But in his heart, as soon as he was in there, it hurt. Oh, ouch, ouch, haven't been in there. What does that ouch? And jumping out. And then I felt this change in that, this shift as the space was held by the feminine and by the third energy to actually stay with that uncomfortable feeling, that pain in the heart. And as that happened, it cleared and transmuted, and there was an embodying and a coming down into the physical. And then as he's come into the physical, that's where he has been able to see the feminine, recognize who they are, even if not at a mental level, not fully consciously, that the knowing has dropped into this reality, this plane of existence, into the now moment. And this is where the hands have come in and the bodies are starting to become more embodied. But she's been more embodied for a long time now. I'm getting like 10-15 years before he looks a lot younger, but he's maturing now. He's maturing as it gets self-recognition and knows who he is, and drops in to embodiment and anchors his higher aspects into this plane of existence. Akatoko chosokopotoko koto tikakata satakapoto otoko chitu toko 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 sotoko bitaka katakti toko kokotita potoko kotitaka kotakato toko topitakata ihasatabokoto titakataka toko sotapataka chuboko sotapataka toko toko pataka chuboko. Also want to say that with the hand holding, I could never get that feeling complete and feeling right. I always knew that the painting was not fully complete, even though I had it framed and everything, that there would be a stage later on where things would come more in. When the energy hasn't landed yet, I can't define things. So that's why their mouths right now are not defined, because the communication at the physical plane hasn't come in yet. But it is coming in now. This is what the energy is coming in to do, the code's coming in. So just until now, the unity, the hand holding in that sacred geometry of the DNA spiral and the infinity, it wasn't ready to come in. The work hadn't been done, the earth hadn't elevated to the right frequency. This twin flame unity is a co-creation also with the earth and the universe. So it's a process, and so the timing is now for that unity coming in through the hands, and this affects what's going on the planet at the moment. It brings unity consciousness into the planet, it brings divine relationship in, as it transmutes out service to self, invasiveness, narcissism, predator, prey, non-presence, non-empathy, non-compassion, all the things people are doing to each other based on what they think or believe, rather than what is true and aligned, and in alignment with the divine and evolution of the planet. Okay, so there was a lot of frequency coming through what I was saying there. So I'm going to leave it there and do some more work on it now. So I will leave it there for this video, and I will link it to part 2 as I do the completion of the painting and the completion of the anchoring of these energies. So stay tuned.